have the applicant and adjacent property owner present for the hearing today, but we're good to go on my end.
All right, well then why don't we just go ahead and get started. Good morning. This is the July 20th, 2022 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is Kevin Sid. I am the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati today, and I will preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220102. The property in question is 4111 33rd Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. The public will have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. If there is more than one person opposing an application, those persons should decide among themselves the length of time each will have to speak. If an opposition group is in attendance, I may request that a spokesperson be chosen to speak on behalf of the group. If the applicant is represented by an attorney, the applicant's attorney may cross-examine any person who has testified at the hearing. If a party of record is represented by an attorney, the attorney for the party of record may present witnesses after the applicant has presented its case and may cross-examine any person who has testified at the hearing. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut the testimony and or argument offered in opposition. After the applicant has been given an opportunity to rebut any testimony and or argument offered in opposition, any attorney for a party of record will have an opportunity to make a closing statement. Finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make a closing statement. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. This means any evidence you want to introduce that consists of a statement made by a person who is not present at this hearing or a document that includes the statement of the person who is not at the hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video conferencing technology, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. All persons providing testimony will be sworn in now. I think the easiest way to do it is just swear everybody in, whether you intend to testify or not. Everybody raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, this is a little bit different. I haven't done now I used to be the ZHE. I haven't done one of these hearings in a couple of years. So this is the first time I've done it via video conference. So normally what we would do when we have in-person sign-in sheets is, there's a sign-in sheet and, you sign in, but it's a little bit different now because it's via video. So I would like everybody, when I call your name, please, you just say your name for the record. So the first person I'm going to look at is Doug Owens. Please say your name for the record.
Doug Owen.
All right. Next, Will, please say your record. Please say your name for the record.
Will Zirkulin.
All right. Mr. Altman, please say your name for the record.
Eric Altman.
All right. Thank you. All right. Who is going to start us off today for the applicant?
Will, you're muted if you want to unmute yourself.
Sorry, it keeps going back to that. I'm not hitting the button, but
That's all right. Yeah, you're doing okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Zirkland, are you going to start us off today?
yes.
All
First,
right,
I'd like to say,
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about your project.
sure. So we bought a house that was in very poor condition that abuts our property. And it's an incredibly small lot. The reason we purchased it is so we could have a place for my parents who are in their 70s to stay, kind of planning for their older age so we could take care of them.
So where do you live?
In Oakley on Minot Avenue, just exactly perpendicular to this property.
Sure.
So that's the reason we purchased it. And I don't think there's any question that what is there now is in better shape and has added value to the neighborhood than the house that was there. It was dilapidated. It had received fines and wasn't taken care of.
So what have you done to improve the property?
Well, in dollar values, it's around, if you include the price of the building, it's probably close to $300,000.
No, I mean, like, what have you done? It sounds like you renovated the property a bit.
No, we raised it. We completely knocked it down and built a new single family home.
Gotcha.
So at the tune of close to 300 grand. And it matches, my working with my architect, we tried to match the kind of the period of early 20s with siding and all that. And the variance or the setback in question is on the back portion of the house. So
Mr. Zergler, let me interrupt you for just a second.
Sure.
For the record, what you're seeking is a proposed variance of approximately 10 feet from the minimum rear yard setback, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, as far as who can see that, it's really only Mr. Or Dr. Altman, who's on here now, and our neighbor to the west. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a letter from every adjacent neighbor, except for Dr. Altman, who's works in Michigan. I just couldn't get with them to get their letter of support. But those are the only two houses that can really see it.
Yeah.
What is proposed. So, and those presumably those individuals have agreed with it being the setback being different. But all we're talking about.
Well, what are you trying to build? What do you want to build?
So there's an existing home. Do you have the plans?
Yeah.
Or no.
I'm trying to get it out for the record. That's why I want you to explain what it is.
On the record.
I know the
Okay.
answer to this question. I'm just trying to get you to explain what your project
You're
is.
trying to get me to explain. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is there's a home on a smaller lot, and on the rear of the building there is a French door that opens right now to nothing. What we'd like to do is the porch there, just build a 10 by 20 porch with a roof on it. It's not enclosed. All we're talking about is a roof. So to prevent, the glaring sun and driving rains from, to protect the people enjoying the back porch.
Do you
If
think
that
it'll
makes sense.
adversely affect any of the neighboring properties?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it'll adversely affect any of the neighboring properties?
I do not.
Why?
Because, I guess if you think how would it adversely affect them? If it was an eyesore, possibly, but I don't believe that it is an eyesore. It's a tastefully done roof. There will be gutters on it, so there shouldn't be any, washout that could hit their houses. It's going to go to the runoff system. So no, I don't think there's really any way it could affect them adversely.
Do you think it fits the nature of the neighborhood?
I do.
Why?
The fit and finish of it matches the architecture of most of the houses in the neighborhood.
Do other surrounding neighbors, do they have similar type patios?
Yeah, some do. Yes.
Are you, I don't know if you would know this, because I know.
And it's hard to say. It's hard to say because generally I don't go creeping in people's backyards, but I have seen them. Yes.
Are outdoor living areas common in this neighborhood?
I would say yes.
Tell me why it's important for you to complete this project. Why is it important to your family?
Why is it important to my family? Well, we're battling with the elements here. So I mean, when you think about it, you have rain and glaring sun. I'm sure everyone on this meeting has been to a soiree or party or event or work event or anything where you're somehow stuck in the heat and the sun or the rain. And all we're talking about is just protecting, my children, my family from melanoma and rain. It's fairly simple, but it just provides enjoyment of the space from the elements, and I think it's reasonable to do to cover the porch.
Sir, is there anything else you'd like to say before I open it up to the public for comment?
No, I would like to thank Mrs. Maines. And the whole process. It's been very easy to deal with, and I'd like to just personally thank her for her work. I can't imagine the number of phone calls she receives, and she's been readily available and really. Sorry, I had COVID 2 weeks ago. I really appreciate her help in explaining this, how this works. So.
Thank you. I also had COVID a couple weeks ago, which is why I still haven't gotten my voice back from the way.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
Lingering. But no, I think this is a fairly simple project. And given the small size of the lot, I think it's almost any reasonable person would think this is a value added to the neighborhood and would, contribute to the enjoyment of the property as a citizen.
All right. Well, at this point in the hearing, I'm going to open up the hearing for public comment.
Kevin?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I let a Carolyn into the room and I thought it was Carolyn Glassby.
I saw Carolyn coming
And I want to apologize. I want to bring that to your attention that we probably want to get her on the record and I can rename her. I apologize.
Yep, that's okay. I was going to do that. But before we do that, Mr. Altman and Carolyn, I'm sorry, I can't see your last name. I could just see Carolyn. Would either one of you like to comment about this project? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I wanted to.
Ma'am, what is your name for the record?
It's Carolyn Buffington.
All right.
And I own the property at 2904 Minot.
Okay.
And I have walked by this project, and it's definitely a nice addition to the neighborhood. And I just wanted to voice my support for this. There's a lot of porch activity and pedestrian activity along Minot and 32nd and 33rd. And I do think this fits in well with the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. There is one other member of the public here. Sir, would you like to say anything? Again, you don't have to if you don't want to. I kind of feel like I'm putting you on the spot since we're on video, but it's in person. It's not quite so on the spot.
No, I would like to comment
Sure.
briefly. I didn't get a chance to sign the letter of support from the other neighbors, but
What is your name for the record?
I'm sorry. It's Eric Altman, and my wife and I own the property at 4115 33rd Avenue, which abuts the subject property to the north.
Okay.
And we support the variance. I wanted to make a couple of comments in response to the questions you raised and also the applicant's comments. So there are actually a couple of benefits to the porch as opposed to adverse effects. One of them is an addition in terms of privacy. So it turns out our bedroom window looks down exactly on the slab where the porch would cover the area. And so I certainly the residents of the subject property would benefit from having a porch, but I think we might too, because then we feel like people aren't staring up into our window. It is a very oddly sized lot right in there. We are cheek by jowl, And so any additions to, to privacy would actually be welcome. The other thing that I think it would help with is drainage, in part because of the small lot size. There's a lack of pervious ground to take up the rainfall and the stormwater, and because the roof is going to have gutters to drain into the sewer system, that will help a little bit in preventing stormwater discharging to grade. We're having some problems with water coming into the basement from that side of the property, and so whatever we can do in terms of improving drainage, I think certainly couldn't hurt and might help. The other speaker addressed the issue of sort of outdoor living areas. These are often on the front of the house with a porch that's on the front. This porch happens to be on the back of the house, but with the 25-foot setback and the house allowed to have the footprint that it has now, there is basically no way for the property owner to have available the same uses as his neighbors with a 25-foot setback, because the property is so short. It's about half the depth of our property, and so there's no way to squeeze a porch in there without modifying the setback. So the applicant made that argument in his cover letter, and I think that's a good argument. Also, my wife and I read the staff report, and we think the analysis in there is appropriate and correct. So we support the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holm. I appreciate that. At this point, we're going to turn it back to the applicant. Mr. Zerglein, is there anything else you'd like to say before I close out the hearing today?
No, I think like I said, I think it's reasonable, and Dr. Altman had more poignant points than me, so I appreciate his input. I think he boiled it down better than me. I worked late at the hospital last night, so thank you for everyone's time. But no, I think it's a reasonable project, and I appreciate everyone's time.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. A decision will be released within 2 weeks. Thank you. At this point, we'll close out the hearing.
Thank you all.